It was Labor Day weekend, I was 17. I bought a Coke and some gasoline. I drove out to the county fair. When I saw her for the first time, she was standing there in the ticket line. And it all started right then and there. Oh, I said the sky made a perfect sunset, and that's a day I'll never forget. I had a barbecue stain on my white t-shirt. She was killing me in that mini skirt, skipping rocks on the river by the railroad tracks. She had a suntan line and red lipstick. I worked so hard for that first kiss, and a heart don't forget, something like that. A few years later on a southbound plane, I was heading down to New Orleans to meet some friends of mine for the Mardi Gras. When I heard a voice from the past, coming from a few rows back. When I looked, I couldn't believe just what I saw. She said, "I bet you don't remember me." I said, "Only every other memory." I had a barbecue stain on my white t-shirt. You were killing me in that mini skirt, skipping rocks on the river by the railroad tracks. You had a suntan line and red lipstick. I worked so hard for that first kiss, and a heart don't forget, something like that. Like an old photograph, time can make reappear, but the memory of your first love never fades away. I had a barbecue stain on my white t-shirt. She was killing me in that mini skirt, skipping rocks on the river by the railroad tracks. You had a suntan line and red lipstick. I worked so hard for that first kiss, and a heart don't forget. No, heart don't forget. I said, heart don't forget, something like that. Now, something like that.